Someone reminded me of something I said back in that time period, and fortunately I have a very short-term memory when it comes to the things I say, both stupid and smart.
Right.
And that's the thing, when you develop the short-term memory so you can forget all the dumb stuff you say, the good stuff tends to slip into that black hole as well. Apparently I was musing openly about a certain team in purple making a run for Matthew Stafford, reuniting him with Kevin O'Connell, who was the offensive coordinator the Super Bowl year. The Vikings have a Super Bowl-ready team. All they need is a high-end quarterback, somebody who can deliver with a big throw in a big spot. And there was never any steam there.
No.
But I just kind of recall throwing it out there now that I've had my recollection refreshed. I've been saying or was saying at the time, maybe this is a call the Vikings should make. So regardless, he wasn't leaving.
No.
That's the one thing the Raiders and the Giants found out. It was all a ruse to get the most money possible out of the Rams, leaving the Giants and Raiders pissed off that they went through the exercise because they thought it was real that he was going to leave. And at the end of the day, it wasn't real that he was going to leave.
No, it was a leverage move, that's for sure, right? I mean, gosh, if he went to Minnesota, though, the Rams might have thought it was really real, actually, there. With, like, Kevin O'Connell. Wait, he came from our coaching staff. Wait, their team is ready. We've heard they're flirting with Aaron Rodgers, right? Maybe he could have squeezed a little bit more money out of the Rams if it was Minnesota in that leverage matchup there. But your point about the Vikings is real, Mike. I mean, again, that's where they're in a weird spot right now. They're in a spot right now where you just said it. We've said it a bunch. It's just to go, come on. Minnesota's a team that's really kind of got it all. They're ready. That's why they flirted with Aaron Rodgers a little bit. There's a little bit here, too, of going, why didn't you know your team was ready? Why did you draft a quarterback and do this and do all this when you could see that the team was close to being ready a year from now, a year or 2 years from now, like we are now? I think there's a little bit there that it has to go on the front office to not know or feel where the team was going and where it's at, and now it's been disrupted by a young quarterback.
Well, and Devin and I talked about this yesterday, and I'm writing something currently, not literally currently, but I started on it this morning. Usually I like to, if I get up earlier than usual, get a post up, copy, paste, snarky comment. But this is like thought piece, no copying, no pasting, and minimal snarky comments, but there's always at least one. My theory is, and this goes back to March when people were dealing on the outside with the Vikings, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, J.J. McCarthy, who's making these bigger picture strategic decisions. And even though, obviously, the apparent reality that J.J. McCarthy doesn't have it, whatever it is, and I'm informed by 50 years of watching great quarterback play for the most part, 70s and 80s, until Dan Marino, Dan Fouts. Like, in the 70s, it got a little rough until they opened the game up some. But I've seen a lot of good quarterback play. I've seen a lot of bad quarterback play, and it's the eyeball test that we talk about, and McCarthy has yet to pass it. And the stats are just horrendous. But there was no one in the organization, in my estimation, and if that person is there, I don't know who it is, and if that person is there, they failed. Nobody bothered to take a step back and say, okay, we made this guy a first-round pick, 10th overall. We traded up to get him. He missed all of his rookie season. We had a great year with Sam Darnold. We had Daniel Jones fall into our laps. We let Darnold go. We let Jones go. We said no to Aaron Rodgers. We didn't jump in to the Matthew Stafford pursuit because we're riding with this guy we drafted last year. I mean, at some point, the pressure that it put on McCarthy, and I'm not making excuses for McCarthy. This is an indictment of the Vikings' lack of strategic thinking. They have created, there's already enough pressure when you're the 10th overall pick in the draft. When you're the guy that just kind of came out of nowhere because your college coach is hyping you up excessively and relentlessly. All of a sudden, McCarthy's in the mix with all these other guys when maybe he wouldn't have been. I don't know. But you have the pressure being the 10th pick. And these weird circumstances, didn't play at all, rookie year, greater urgency to prove yourself. They let the guy that went 14-3 go, greater urgency. Daniel Jones, let him go, greater urgency. Aaron Rodgers, no thank you, all-time great, no thank you, greater urgency. So to the extent that McCarthy is trying too hard, thinking too much. It's a product of the circumstances.
Yeah,
and
course.
they created those circumstances.
Yeah.
And that, if you're a Vikings fan, and I'm almost not anymore, but if you're a Vikings fan, the thing that should dismay you the most is the lack of a vision, short-term and long-term, and an understanding of how these factors are going to come together and dump a crap load of pressure on this kid.
Yeah,
and again, I'm not making excuses for him. I'm saying he's in a situation that it would be very difficult for any young, unproven quarterback to thrive in, because you want to go out there and win the Super Bowl with one throw.
Agreed. And I think that's why 1-2 they didn't get a high-end backup, right? Because they didn't want to add even more pressure to that situation with all the pressures you already laid down in the right way, right? And then on top of that, here we are now where, I mean, you got to question, can the kid stay healthy enough ever here to, lay down the framework to continue to get better? That's the problem you got to worry about too. And that was the problem, and people worried about that a little with him coming out in the draft. Him and Jaden Daniels, they were a little frail, right? And we're seeing here in year 2, it caught up to Jaden Daniels a little bit, but those same thoughts are with J.J. McCarthy. And we know how frail he got this at the end of last season into the early offseason this year, and some of the reports about, wow, he's really skinny, he's got to put weight on, all of that. But yeah, there's a lot of concern there in Minnesota about how this goes. Right.
He was.
Right. I know. He was.
He looked like my 18-year-old nephew when I saw him on the sidelines of one of the late season games.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. No.
It's like,
now
who's
you're
that
dealing
kid
with
out
that,
there? Is that somebody's kid?
Right. You're dealing with that, and now you have the injury bug, basically. The guy that can't make it out there for more than 2 games in a row without something happen. That's concerning as well. It's hurting his development. He's not being able to practice and all of that. So here we are, and yeah, your Vikings are in a very tough spot for sure, Mike.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.